Welcome back, Devils fans. It's your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And I am here with a very special guest today. My guest today had a professional hockey career spanning 9 seasons, including NHL stints with the Minnesota Wild, New Jersey Devils, San Jose Sharks, and Chicago Blackhawks. A true heavier, edgier, more violent type of fellow, my kind of guy. A true inspiration story about perseverance and an incredible social media follow. I'll put all the links in the description. Welcome to Running with the Devils, Kurtis Gabriel.
Namaste, Ace. Thank you so much for having me. Divine present moment to everybody out there, and I'm fired up to be here, man.
Namaste to you too, my man. I really appreciate you doing this. Tell everybody now, post-hockey, you're a few years removed here. What have you been up to? What's going on in your life and all that fun stuff?
Wow. That's a loaded question. That's for sure. Pretty much going on the most profound journey you could possibly ever go on as a human being. That's what's been happening. Hockey, as we know, is a microcosm of life, and that's why we love it. There's so many emotions. There's so many storylines. It brings forward the human condition. And my goodness, did my 13 years between the OHL and pro hockey condense probably a century's worth of life experience into that time. And when that career ended at 29 years old, there was some hell to pay, pretty much, of what I had to go through. And it's been just over 3 years now since September 2022 when I retired, and basically went from being so misaligned in my life that I suffered excruciatingly to waking up to what I needed to, which is what it was doing, waking me up, and now living from a place that's completely different, where I have a massive year of 2026 lined up.
Wow. I will say that is a much deeper answer to the question than we typically get. Based on everything you said, I'm kind of curious, and I'm not saying that you inferred this, but now I'm just kind of digging into the whole kind of psyche here. If you could go back and choose a different path other than hockey, would you?
Wow. So that's where I sometimes answer questions with two perspectives, because I have to stay true to where I'm coming from now. So that in the highest truth wouldn't change a thing, because I couldn't possibly. It was exactly scripted as it had to be, and I so cherish that. But I did get a question on my stream the other night about, if you could go back knowing what you know now and play pro sports, what would you pick? And I thought this is a great question, because it's something I've thought about a lot. And I'll tell you right now, if I knew what I knew now and somebody said you have to go back and play a professional sport, I would have been a football soccer, not American football, goalie. I'm 6'4". I got great hands. I'm way more agile off the ice than on the ice. I was a terrible skater on the ice. We all know. The mental side of the game, I would have trained it so much. Oh man, I think I would have been the best professional soccer football goalie ever. That's what I would have done. So I wouldn't play hockey again. That's for sure.
When you were a teenager, if hockey didn't pan out for you professionally, did you have any other sort of career aspirations or, roads you were planning on pursuing?
You won't hear this question or this answer very often. I remember, and this part of my story is out there because it was written in an article by Greer Joyce of Sportsnet back when I was 17. So I can share this, but not give away things from my book. I was sitting on my bed. I was 16, and I was playing single A and double A hockey. I mean, I was nowhere. I was ready to stop playing. The year after after minor midget, it goes up to major midget, where you play 2 age groups, and the guys have already gone to the OHL at that point. So I was thinking about retiring and wondering what the hell I'm going to do with my life. And at the time, the only lead I had, literally the only lead I had, I could have played Canadian level basketball, baseball. I was a good pitcher, but I didn't want to pursue it in any way. I really didn't. I literally loved biology and animals. And I literally thought, I was like, I freaking love Steve Irwin. Like, can I be like the Canadian Steve Irwin? Can I be like how he is with like crocodiles and all this stuff and snakes? Could I be that with like bears and like other animals like that? Like, I literally thought, like, could I be famous doing that? And like, that's the only thing I like in school besides gym class is biology. So maybe I'll do that. And I love big predators. That's literally what I was thinking.
Wow, the Canadian Steve Irwin. What a different road that would have been. Getting into your career, you'd mentioned midget, and you had talked about previously, I've seen in an interview where one of your coaches said when you were trying out for juniors that you're going to have to probably embrace a more physical game because you weren't going to be a goal scorer at that level. What exactly did that signify to you, and kind of what was your approach to reinventing yourself as maybe a more physical guy than you were at the time?
So again, this goes into the different types of answers. On the surface, on my conscious mind as a 16-year-old that was going nowhere, and my mom goes, go try out for the Junior A Newmarket Hurricanes. And I show up and the guy goes, who the hell are you? I can't take a AA player and put you on my team. Go play major midget for a year and then come back. And I walked out of that meeting and I said, I'm going to play in the NHL. No. I know I already am playing in the NHL in my head. That's what played on a loop now for the rest of my life at the time. And when I went to that major midget team, the Markham Waxers, Gord Fournier there said, kid, I see how hard you work. I see how bad you want it. You're an AP for one junior team. You tried out for the other one. You're not going to make it scoring goals or skating circles around people. You're going to make it hitting. And that means you're going to have to fight. And I went, say less. Where do I sign the contract? Because I'd already decided. I was already playing in the NHL in my head. So it didn't matter how I got there. I mean, I'd already been in one fight at that point, and it was an organic fight. So I didn't think anything of it. I had no background. I had nobody to tell me that I was holding myself as a fighter. I had no one to tell me that you're setting yourself up for a life that is not many people would actively choose. And that honestly, most of your teammates are going to look at you and think you're nuts because they would never do it themselves. They just go work for the family business or go work somewhere else. That's how crazy it was. But I said, say less, because I've already playing in there in my head. It didn't matter what I did. I was going to play there. So if that's the case, so be it.
Wow. So I've heard you say that you weren't really much of a fighter off the ice. So now you just look at this as, this is the task ahead of me. This is my road to the league. I'm going to do what I have to do. And then you just start embracing fighting.
And that's the conscious mind, right? That's the kid that's going, man, this just fell into my lap. Let's just see how far we can take this. So I had freedom from outcome in my conscious mind, but deeper, where 95% of us lives in the subconscious programming. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of fear. That's what's going to be really dove in deep to in my book when I go meet this guy over here, and the darkness inside of us. But yeah, at the time, I have not been in a street fight, and I still have not been into a street fight. Well, not at the time. I've still not been in a street fight to this day, but I've been in 137 bare knuckle fights. My mom's a teacher. I was the goody two shoes teacher's pet. I had to have the perfect behavior on the report card. If I didn't get 70, 75 average, I didn't get to play hockey. So yeah, when I'm told to fist fight people, I go and tell my mom on the way home and said, yeah, Mom, I'm going to be like a tough guy now. She went, oh, okay. Well, I guess try it and see how it is. And I'd be like, yeah, sure, Mom, I'm already doing it. And I just started targeting people on the ice after that. And then when I went back to that Hurricanes tryout the next year, they signed me after 2 days because it was just annihilating everybody. I knew what to do now. And I got in a fight with a kid this time where I was targeting him and not just showing up and fighting when it happens organically.
Wow. So you referenced something behind you. What exactly? You said, I'm going to go see this guy. What is that about?
Yeah. I mean, we all have darkness in us, and you can't live the life that we all want to live if you don't face your darkness inside you. We're all capable of the most grotesque evil, and we're all capable of the most loving acts out there. And until, as Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Buddhist teacher, said, until you can see yourself in your greatest enemy and the most vile perpetrator of evil, you're not free. And that was going on all under the surface that whole time. And that's what's really going to be in my book. That's what's prompted this transformation. And I was an angry kid, but I was so high functioning, and all these things that people go through, it's all behind the curtain, man.
So making the conscious decision to now just go out there and fight people because this is the path that's kind of been determined for you. You'd mentioned, a bunch of things with, feelings and emotions and maybe things that happened to you in the past. Did you kind of channel maybe, things that weren't even related to hockey, and now that kind of fueled your ability to target, as you said, go after guys and kind of maybe get out some of these frustrations or feelings that you had, but now you're doing it on the ice, and this is also benefiting you in the way that this is going to help you progress in your hockey career?
Nail on the head, brother. It was a double whammy of, I get that energy out that I'm so frustrated and angry with, and I get rewarded by it. Oh, you kidding me? For a kid who's already decided he's going to play, or I got to fix my language, because I was already playing in my head, playing in the NHL. When you are already there in your mind, then your actions just naturally followed. So that's what followed. It was like, yeah. And every time I got more violent, more crazy, bigger and stronger, more in shape, better skills, everything in my life got better. The pain didn't hurt as bad. The frustration didn't sting. The joy increased. The pleasures multiplied. So hell yeah, brother. I went from being, what's funny is, on the outside, I was always looking like this, like still a grounded masculine man and a not, a kid that had a good head on his shoulders. But behind closed doors, I was as toxically masculine as it pretty much gets in my mind and what I was living off the ice. And I dove in head first, because every time I leaned in more, I got more out of it. So I said, hell yeah, let's go on this roller coaster ride.
At that point, did it almost feel like you had two personalities, where you had this hockey persona and then off the ice was separate? Did they kind of blend together? What was that kind of like for you in the early stages of all of this?
It really blended together. It really did. And that was kind of the problem, is that I couldn't separate anything. It's when you're a lost, angry 16-year-old with no father, you find something that gives you what you want. It's the same reason, a kid who gets bullied at school and he takes the wrong path home one day from school, and some skinheads on the street bring him in who are Nazis, and they say, hey man, you want to come hang out? And he feels welcome because the kids at school are mean to him. But no, these Nazi guys with swastikas, they're nice. So I'll hang out with them. Then he's a neo-Nazi. It's the same thing. It's just a person crying out for love and wanting to feel belonging. I wanted that. I wanted to feel like somebody. I wanted to feel important. I wanted to feel like I had a group, especially boys and men, without having my dad. So I said, yeah. If everybody's going to pump my tires, the more violent I get, the more food I eat, the more girls I chase, the more dominant I get on the ice. It all blended together, and I became a hockey player. I was not Kurtis Gabriel, the good son, the brother, the guy who's had this interesting story. I was a hockey fighter. This was who I was, and I got rewarded handsomely for it.
So now you feel this acceptance, you're part of the team. Did it feel like genuine joy to you at the time, or did it kind of seem hollow or, kind of off in some way, in the sense that this truly maybe wasn't who you were as a person, but this was the role you were playing for your profession?
Yeah, it was ignorance is bliss, brother. We've all, I don't know if you've seen The Matrix, when Cypher, the guy who backstabs him, says ignorance is bliss. He just wants to go back into the Matrix. I was loving the Matrix, brother. I was loving the lifestyle, the pleasure, the joy from it. Also the pain, the contrast you got, that you had to fight through things, and then you broke through and broke another plateau and broke another plateau. And you make junior A after a year of not even considering retiring hockey. You make junior A, and then you skip over junior A right to the OHL. Okay, that's pretty freaking sweet. A year after that, I'm in an NHL camp with the Phoenix Coyotes. Like, what? 2 years after a AA player sitting on his bed without a hair on his face, I'm at camp with Shane Doan saying, hey kid, how's it going? Like, what?
Legend.
Like, what? So you think that got in my head? Holy shit, man. Then fighting through adversity, breaking through in my third OHL year to get drafted 3rd round. Didn't even know I was still eligible to the Minnesota Wild. Like, I went on a meteoric ascent from 16, sitting on my bed, nowhere in hockey, to playing in the NHL at 21 in my debut, to playing playoff games at 22, to being on a 13-game winning streak with the Minnesota Wild at 23.
Amazing. So I want to rewind a little bit, going to Owen Sound. A young Kurtis Gabriel here. Give the viewers kind of the rundown of how life, playing in the OHL, what your life is like. Are you living with a billet family kind of off the ice? You guys are probably kind of important figures, I'd imagine, in the area. So just kind of give us an insight into, while you're at Owen Sound, what is the whole kind of experience like for you?
I mean, I live here now, so I still get that junior experience, baby. People still know me around town, which is wonderful. My mom moved up here 3 years after my pro career, but yeah, I mean, most kids that make the OHL are groomed for it, right? Like, have agents and advisors and hockey dads and people telling them that this is what it's going to be like. I just got airdropped into junior hockey with no background, from AAA major midget into the best team in the OHL that year. Like, it was such a shock. I mean, they told me, hey, you made the team, go home, pack up your shit and be back here tomorrow. I'm like, okay. Have a little going away party with my friends. I still have the photo, going to put it in the book. I look like a giraffe, baby giraffe, and I'm getting shipped up to Owen Sound now. Thank goodness it was only 2.5 hours, 2 hours from home. And yeah, I go right in with the most amazing billet family ever. I still see them all the time. So close to them, Tracy and Sean Walker. Thank goodness for that sanctuary where I could come back to and shut the door and be on my own and get away from it all, because it was intense. I mean, you go from being just a normal, like, the people at my going away party were like, where are you going? I'm like, yeah, I've been going pretty hard at hockey the last year and a half. They're like, really? I thought you were like good, but not that good. I'm like, yeah, well, I guess I'm good now. And I went there, and, getting put into a high school where people either look at you and adore you, or people look at you and want to kill you because they're so jealous, or they hate you, or they have bad experiences with Owen Sound attack players. Yeah, you just got worshipped. This is the smallest market in the CHL, in the Canadian Hockey League. Everybody knows who you are, regardless if you are. And we went and won the championship that year, and I never got to play. So I just had to do homework at 2 a.m. on the bus and peel pizza off the floor and deal with all the culture of hockey and the girl. It was a lot.
So you had mentioned in the past you had a couple rough seasons there before you kindly found your stride. You had told your coach, you got to give me a better opportunity. He put you on the third line with some older guys, and you guys had a big season, which ultimately resulted in you getting drafting. But prior to that, you had mentioned training with Gary Roberts and that you bulked up. I'm super curious. I've heard a lot of people mention him. Very feisty guy, obviously. And apparently now has kind of the next chapter of his career is doing, I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but was training guys. So I'm very, very curious to know, what was the training with him like? Where was that? And kind of, walk me through whatever you remember about that.
Absolutely. So just to give you more context, first year, never barely played. They said at the end of the year, Kurtis, we know you didn't play, but you got to come back and be meaner. You're kind of supposed to be that. And I went, okay, got the hint, fight. So I went and trained with Mike Marson, one of the first African-American players to play in the NHL. And after his career, he became a third-degree Shotokan master. And me and my mom found some article that he had trained Rick Nash on getting him more confident in his body and being able to fight guys if he needed to. And we were like, okay. So I went there, then went to the OHL, and I got beat up 10 times because they put in the 10-fight rule that year, my second year, and I got beat up. I came back from Phoenix Coyotes camp thinking I'm hot shit, and I get beat up 10 times. So then that's when that coach said at the end of that season, Kurtis, you don't have a spot on the team. Like, you have to come back and re-earn it. And I went, say less. So I went home. I said, Mom, we got to up it. We got to up it. And I contacted Gary Roberts and his team, and I went and trained there for a couple of days. And he actually decided to give me and my mom a discount from his usual $10K summer training fee because I worked so hard and he wanted me in there. So we did that. I went out and kept skating in Oshawa with Scary Mary. I drove all around GTA to train. And then I found another guy to train me. I went to this MMA gym in northeastern part of Newmarket. And I said, dude, we just got to put on hockey pads and just hit the bag for a minute and then go on the mats and just grapple, stand up, and just beat the shit out of each other, basically. And he'd put on a boxing glove and punch me in the head. So I got used to getting punched. And I grew into being 6'4", 215. I was training with Stamkos, training with James Neal, Shifley, McDavid, all these guys. I'm getting confident being on the ice with them. I'm nowhere near as good as them, but I'm getting confident. I'm big, I'm strong. And I came back like the frickin' Terminator. And I said, anybody gets in my way, I'm going to hurt you. And I did. And I remember the first week of training camp, I was on the 6th, 7th line. And I finally went into the coach's house one day. I shut the door. I said, this is a joke. You said I have to re-earn my spot. You have to give me a chance. And he went, next day I showed up. There's my name on the third line with Holden Cook and Kyle Hope. And I never looked back. We became the heartbeat of that team. And I just dominated.
Wow. Talk about really kind of honing in on the craft. I don't know that I've heard so many guys. I mean, there's been guys that have done trainings and things, but you kind of went full dive into it, training with the karate guys and doing all this stuff. Wow, that's really amazing. How old were you? You mentioned this. It was off ice stuff, or you were on the ice with like Stammer and McDavid and those guys?
Both. Trouba, McDavid, Scheifele, Stamkos, all these guys was in the gym at down in Vaughan. He's now trains at, I think he used to train at St. Andrews College for a while, but yeah, he's moved around. But yeah, on and off the ice with those guys. I'll never forget James Neal pulling into skates with his Ferrari. You know, the engine's in the back, so he has to put his bag in the front seat and pull his sticks out of the damn thing. I'm like, why are you driving that to the rink? And other days when it's like a Tuesday or Wednesday morning early, and Gary has us running at a park in downtown Toronto or something, and I'm just lapping people. And James Neal comes running up after he's done, and he's breathing. He's like, Gary, who the hell is this Kenyan? Like, who is this guy? And Gary's like, well, he's not drinking last night out in Toronto like you were. That's probably why he can run.
Wow. So wait, how old were you and where were you playing during this?
So that was before my third OHL season where I broke out. So I was 18, turning 19.
Wow. And you're out there training with legit superstars.
Yeah, man.
That had to be quite the experience. Are these guys doing this like on the regular in the summer? I know in the past, it seems like guys did not take the off-season stuff quite as serious as the guys now do. It seems like, the nutrition, the constant year-round workouts and all that over the years, I think has kind of been, more emphasized and more in depth. But was this like, because they're these elite players that they were working this hard every summer to stay at the top?
Yeah, like that was back in 2012, 2013, 2014. So it was already insane back then. I mean, I've talked to different guys now and older players that were really good players and made it. Like, to be honest, it's always been this way. It's just we've heard the legendary stories of the guys that just eat steak and eggs and don't really work out and they're so good. But honestly, anybody who wasn't just naturally talented always has put in the work in the summers. And when the top guys started putting in the work in the summers and they all started getting the arms race, and you see guys like in different sports like LeBron and Russell Wilson spend all this money on their bodies and stuff, it's really become a massive thing. Like, guys go all out in the summer, man. It's your time to get better. And the people who don't, you better be that talented that you don't get left behind.
Everyone, I forget who said it. I saw a quote, something along the lines of, guys or whoever don't get great at something by accident. And obviously all of these guys have amazing natural ability, but then to really take it to the next level, they have to, put in the work and no shortcuts, kind of year long. This is your profession. Got to take it as serious as possible. Now that's amazing story there. So now we're going to go to 2013 draft day. Boom. The dream comes true. The Wild take you in the third round in New Jersey. Just what was this, kind of experience like? I'd imagine at this point, this has to be the greatest feeling on the planet. Like, you're like, okay, from a few years back, I realized I had to start smashing people. I'd done that and more, and now have clawed my way from the guy that probably wasn't likely to make a junior team to now on the floor of the Prudential Center in beautiful Newark, New Jersey, with a Minnesota Wild sweater, being drafted in the third round. I guess kind of just walk me through what you remember about that day, and any other details you could recall about being drafted. And then look at the publicity photos. Look at this guy, huh?
Hey, it starts back at the Christmas party halfway through my third year in the OHL. Me and my mom are standing there drinking apple juice. And Dale DeGray, my GM, comes walking up with this smirk on his face. And he just goes, your son's going to get drafted to the NHL. And me and my mom just almost lose our shit. Like, sorry, what was that? And he's like, every team almost has called you about us. You're getting drafted. And I'm not even eligible. He said, yeah, you are. Third year. I said, holy shit, man. And my confidence soared from then on. And I remember my agent the GM had to find me an agent. I didn't go find an agent. They found me one. He told me, he said, you're going down to the draft. And I said, no, we're not going into the Prudential. We're not going to Newark. Like, what if I don't get drafted? He's like, no, you're at least going fifth round. And if somebody likes you, you're going third round. I went, holy shit. And I did talk to 25 teams. The last interview was with Minnesota at a Tim Hortons by my house for 3 hours with Craig Channelcat. That's his nickname, his old scout. And we just talked life and hockey. And he said, the last question was, what do I take to my GM when we have our meetings to get you drafted? And I said, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what I have to do. I will play in the NHL. And he's like, all right, that's all I need to hear. And I remember getting so nervous, man. We went in the day before. Oh, man. My family wanted to go to Times Square and do all the things. And I just wanted to sit. It was so hot and humid. I remember I just wanted to sit in my hotel in Newark and just in the freezer and watch movies and keep my mind off of it. I was just freaking out. I'd never been through a draft process. I was a free agent to the OHL. So we go at a bar across the street from I can't remember his name of it, across the Prudential Center for the first 2 rounds because we knew I wasn't getting drafted then. And we go in for the 3rd round. And I remember looking down there and you could see Nashville's table, Edmonton's table, Minnesota's table, and they had the next 3 picks. I'm looking at my mom and we're like, yep. And as they say, Minnesota Wild draft, right wing from Owen Sound. I didn't even hear my name called because my family just erupted. And it felt like I was now weightless. And I hugged my mom. She's bawling. My good friend, my brother. And I started walking down those steps of the lower bowl. And I didn't feel the concrete. I was just floating, man. Just floating, getting down there to see those pictures and shaking everybody's hand. And then the media. And holy frig, man. It was wild. It was such a relief. It was such an honor.
No, that's amazing. I can only imagine what it felt like for you. So what happens in the aftermath kind of after that? They take you in the back, I guess, or somewhere, you do all the photos. And then what is okay, now you're drafted to an NHL team. What is the outlook from there going forward now?
Yeah. So I remember UC Saros was picked right near me. So me and him were chatting hey, we just got drafted. This is pretty cool. It was funny how so many really good NHLers were picked around me. Verhaeghe, Bjorkstrand, man, they missed on me. But you just do all these awkward photos. You do some interviews. It takes about an hour maybe. And then back up to my family and went out to eat and just headed home. And then it just became hey, be in Minnesota for development camp in 7 days or whatever it was. And went in there, had an awesome experience. He did all the beach volleyball, but also the training on the ice. And it was awesome and fun. And then you headed home to continue the training to get ready. I was someone who could have turned pro, but I think everybody knew I'd go back to junior for my overage year. And at training camp, they gave me that option. Do you want to play pro or do you want to go back? And I said, I got to go work on my game. I'm not ready to fight these men yet. And I went back to Owen Sound for my overage year.
Did money cross your mind at any point when you were making your decision? Because you don't get paid in juniors, right?
We and you get $50 a week as a 16 to 19-year-old, but as a 20-year-old, you get $150 a week. But no, money did not factor in it whatsoever. Fortunately enough for me, my mom got paid really well as a teacher in Canada. She always made solid money. Money was not, an issue. We're a great middle-class family that worked hard and immigrant parents from Scotland. So that money just wasn't even a question in that decision.
No, that's awesome. So then you start off in Iowa with the Iowa Wild. You're there for a few seasons. What was it like living in Iowa? How did you like playing there? Do you have any memorable stories or tales or anything about your time in Iowa?
Oh, yeah. Oh, too many for this time. But yeah, some things that really jump out. I mean, talk about going from, a family that I was never raised with politics, religion, spirituality, and you get dropped into Iowa, the Midwest, where there's just cornfields and pig fest and bacon and WWE and wrestling. Holy frig. That was a culture shock. All the Christianity was a culture shock. I loved that they loved violence, so they loved my game. Still the all-time leader in PIMS there. I don't think anybody will ever change that. What stands out is the people were so kind to me. It was a great place to live. We lived in West Des Moines. It was an awesome little shopping center area in the mall. It was everything you wanted as a young guy, living in the same apartment complex as the boys. One of the first memories was, getting your first little signing bonus. And I got my own studio apartment my first year. I went to Best Buy and I bought the whole gamut. I bought the 60-inch TV. I bought the new MacBook. I bought the Xbox with the controller, with the headphones, with the big Lazy Boy recliner, all the latest video games. And the Wi-Fi didn't work for a week. I couldn't get it figured out. I don't know why. But I finally did. And just the experience on the ice, everything went so perfectly. Those first 3 years, everything couldn't have gone more perfectly. I progressed. I grew. I got better. I had fun. There was this great bar downtown where it was sports bar on the first level, hip hop bar on the second level, country bar on the third level, and then a house bar connected to it. So you could just run around to all the different places. We played hard. I didn't have too much fun, just, Saturday night once in a while, but then went back to working hard. And it was just a time, man.
Wow. So then you finally get the call. You get the call. NHL debut, November 10th, 2015 against the Jets. And you actually had a scrap in that one too against Chris Thorburn. What do you remember, I guess, leading up to that? Were you very nervous? Did you set out to fight? Did you think it was going to happen? I'm just curious about all the emotions now that you're at the next kind of, I guess, milestone, right? You know, you get drafted, you play in the AHL, and now you get the call. You're in the big leagues. Kind of walk me through that.
Yep. The stepping stones just kept increasing. And second season, I got called the first time, and they just really were slowly trying to integrate me. They loved how hard I worked, and they saw me in their plans. So they brought me up the first time and didn't play me just to get a sense of the plane and the guys and everything. And then I got sent back down. And then I got the second call. I was in the shower. Somebody's like, after practice, hey, coach or Gabe or Torch wants to see you. And I knew what it was. I came running out, soaking wet, right into his office. And he's like, you're going up to play this time, kid. And packed up my stuff. 4-hour drive, most blissful drive ever, straight up the highway to Minnesota. I got to practice with the team, morning skate. And I've always told people I'm going to fight my first game, first shift if I can. First shift didn't materialize, but first shift I got to run over Mark Stewart on the forecheck. That was nice. But honestly, I was so flooded with adrenaline and cortisol and energy from the time I got called up the day before that my legs were taxed. My nervous system was torched. It was such an amazing experience, but man, I was tired. One memory that sticks out is in warm up. I'm skating around and I look down the other end. I go to skate at center ice and stop dead center ice on the dot. And I see Scheifele going by, Buff, all these guys. And I turn around and I just look back on the Minnesota end and I just see all the fans and the music's pumping and Brodeen's going by and Dums and all Suter and Koivu. And I look up and there's my mom, brother, stepdad, and best friend on this side of the bowl, and my buddy and his friend who came in on red eyes. And I'm just like, wow, we're here. And then I went back into it. Seeing my family after the game was amazing. But my mom goes, why didn't you get a rookie lap? And I went, oh, yeah, I didn't do that. I was just so happy to be there, right? But then took my family out to the St. Paul Grill, spent a bunch of money on them for a bunch of food. Amazing. But yeah, that little snippet of no rookie lap gives you a little insight into how that locker room was.
Oh, very interesting. So I could only infer, I guess, from that you didn't feel, I guess, embraced or welcome when you were there.
Yeah, that organization was known at the time, unbeknownst to me, as the most toxic locker room in the league. Not from a sense of maliciousness, but almost from a sense of just like passivity and just like meh. Like the guys who were really good dudes, I'd say half the team, amazing dudes, but they were just introverts and more chill and more go with the flow. But then the other half were more just guys that were just kind of in their own worlds. It was like a team where it was like a corporation. People came, they played, and they went home to their family. Like there was no fun. And if there was fun, I wasn't included in it. Me and my buddy Grevac, we wouldn't get invited to things. We spent one Thanksgiving up at the hotel by ourselves. Nobody brought us over for an extra seat at the Thanksgiving dinner table. We text guys to go out and they wouldn't answer. Just sad, because you hear the stories about signing with Pittsburgh, and Sidney Crosby's the first guy to meet you there with a handshake. And here's my number. Anything you need, introduces you to everyone. Like, no, none of that. It was like, oh, this fighter kid's here, I guess. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's disappointing to hear. I've heard, over the years, tons and tons of stories about how tight teams that hang out off the ice and kind of really develop that, that brotherhood, that true family, it does translate into success. And when you get into this world of kind of fragmented groups or whatever, and not including everyone, yeah, that's definitely kind of crappy. Circling back a little bit, you had mentioned in a previous interview about you spent your check on that dinner for your friends and family. Explain to everybody, how does it work when you are in the minor leagues and then you come up with the pro team, with the NHL team? How does that work in terms of is it per day? Is it per game? And kind of, I guess, if you can remember, get into the actual details of the significant jump from the AHL pay to the NHL.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be honest, you're not even thinking about it, right? Because our dream isn't to make money. Our dream's to play in the NHL, but it's a great kicker for sure. So in the minors, I didn't get put on the power play my last year at junior, and I still led the team in assists. So I didn't get the full signing bonus. They kind of took 20 grand off of it. So I didn't get the full rookie pay of like 170 per year in the minors, but I was making, I think, 140, 150, pretty damn good US dollars, especially to a Canadian. So yeah, when you get called up, I mean, your pay by day just jumps 7-8 times, from 150 to 725 or whatever it was back then, 700. So yeah, each day you just get that much more. They take your taxes off the top. So after the first time I spent 2 weeks up in the NHL, I got $22,000 in my bank account after tax, just boom, so pretty nice, pretty sweet. You're making $44K a month after tax as a 21-year-old, pretty nice life. Pretty damn good feeling. But again, you're just happy to be there. And besides, you don't even have to spend the money. It's the never hungry league for a reason. That's what they call the NHL, the boys do, and the AHL, the always hungry league. The always hungry league, you might have Chipotle before a game, or you might be eating an okay team meal at a dinner or at a hotel. But the NHL, there's food everywhere. So you get to keep that money.
Man, if I had that kind of money dropped on me at that age, I don't even know if I'd be here today to talk to. But back to the differences between the AHL and NHL, I guess, can you explain a day in the life of AHL versus NHL, I guess with even the facilities, the bus, the meals versus, where you're staying, how you're traveling and all that in the NHL? Because I feel like a lot of people don't really get into the details of it. And I think people, a lot of fans don't realize, like, yeah, AHL is pro hockey, but they don't fully grasp how different of a lifestyle it truly is. And to your point, you said you call the AHL the always hungry league and the NHL the never hungry league. So I'm just curious, for your kind of dive into the wildly different worlds of professional hockey in that regard.
Yeah, and I'll caveat this by they call the AHL the jungle, but I mean, the East Coast is the jungle of the jungle, and it gets even lower from there. So I got the best experience you could have, but it was a vastly different experience in the minors where you played. Okay. So if when I was playing in Lehigh or Toronto in the minors, my goodness, you're pretty much treated like an NHL player. The only difference is the logo on the jersey, the amount of money in your account, and the absolute lack of attention compared to what you got in the NHL, and your day-to-day experience of being somewhere you didn't want to be and somewhere you do want to be. Like Lehigh, Philadelphia Flyers are so rich. The Leafs are the richest organization, right? They have everything, the bells and whistles. You're treated like a king. Other places, Iowa was much different, still great, but much different. The sleeper buses, the late night meals at greasy places, the no plane rides, the lack of attention. You're in Iowa, San Jose Barracuda, it's just different. It's just different. You can just feel it. There's just not this electricity in the air when you're in the minors. And that's really hard to hold on to. It's a place where everybody doesn't want to be. Everybody wants to be up top. And that's sad to say, because, man, you pinch most guys to be able to play even American League hockey, but that's the human condition. We want what we can't have. When we're constantly chasing outside of ourselves, you're going to be not happy. So yeah, it's a stark difference. It feels like you're on a different planet, really, like when it comes down to it. And the most thing I attribute that to is just the feeling, like the feeling of being in the NHL in your body, something you've worked your whole life for. It's like constantly sipping on the most amazing nectar ever. Whereas in the minors, you're just constantly missing that taste.
Wow. So to that point, is when you go back down after getting a taste of the NHL, is it, I'd imagine it's got to be super depressing. Like, how do you deal with that? Do you, say eyes on the prize? I'm going to get my way back there. What is kind of going on internally, I guess, the first time you go back to the AHL after getting your NHL taste?
It all depends on the circumstances, right? If you agree with the decision, like when I got called the first time and I didn't play, that makes sense. They're easing me in. Get called the second time, I play and fight Thorburn. Oh, that makes sense. They're easing me in. I get called up the next week. Oh, now it's Peluso. He's standing on the bench with his hood up before the game in morning skate. I guess I'm fighting him now too. I got eased into it, man. That makes sense when you get sent down there. When you agree with it, it's absolutely odds on the prize. I'm freaking pumped, man. I was sitting on my bed going nowhere. We're thinking I'd be the Canadian Steve Irwin at 16. I'm going to be back. But let me tell you, when you don't agree with it, when you think the world has wronged you, oh man, you want to talk about how that can fold you and bundle you like a house of cards, man. It can be really tough when you don't agree. And I definitely went through that.
No, it's very interesting that you had even the self-awareness then to differentiate between like, this one's kind of on me versus I kind of got a raw deal here. I think a lot of guys probably would look at it all the same, like, this is BS. I shouldn't have got sent down. But it seems like, you, like you said, if you thought it was kind of warranted, you didn't have the same kind of feeling towards the team, or I guess in general.
That is exactly true. However, there's no excuse to ever have the mentality of that it's not fair. None. It absolutely shoots yourself in the foot. If you live your life as a victim, like I did from being born till 31 years old, 31 and a half, if you live like a victim, you are miserable, man. And that was the mindset I had. If things worked out the way I wanted it to, if all my ducks were in a row, if I crossed my I's dotted or crossed my T's, dot my I's, and everything made sense to my ego, hunky dory. But as we know, that's not how life goes. And my goodness, when it doesn't go the way we think, we suffer. And there's no excuse. Like when I got sent out at 23 from a 13-game win streak and I thought I'd made it, oh my goodness, man, I knew it. I made it. I was done, signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm going to get a one-way my next year coming off my rookie contract. You don't change what ain't broken. 13-game win streak, franchise record, fighting everybody. And I get sent down. It's just no excuse for that. If you would have told 16-year-old, 20-year-old, even 6 months before that you're going to get sent down and get told by Bruce Boudreau that, hey, kid, you're not ready yet. You'll make it when you're 24, 25, like Ryan Reeves did. You're a couple years away. I would have ran around the plane naked when he told me that. I would have jumped for joy. But when your identity is that this is what you are now and you've decided you deserve it and it gets pulled out from you like a rug under your feet, it sucks, man. I went into suffering like I couldn't believe it existed.
What did you think of Boudreau as a coach?
Hey, sweet. I do this with my fight plan reviews. I talk about the guys as fighters and as human beings. Fighters, I'll be critical about them. As human beings, I love everyone. As a coach, not my coach. That's for damn sure. I mean, yeah. When I need someone to walk the talk, if that makes sense. I need to feel the passion, not just the words of the passion. Only played the top three lines. I think that's why his teams never win in the playoffs, because his guys are tired. Doesn't play the fourth line enough. Didn't play us enough. They thought we weren't ready. They got rid of Meteoric on the line with Stewart and instead put Ryan White and Martin Hansel there, and the team tanked. Jake Allen stood on his head that year and bounced them out of the playoffs. They had no chance because they had a bad locker room anyway, but not my coach. Let's just say that. And you want to contrast that with who I went and played for next? That's my favorite coach ever, Johnny Hynes.
Save it first. We're going to get there. Give me, so back to you feeling that maybe the culture wasn't what it should have been there. How much of that would you attribute to a coach versus the players, or are they kind of separate?
Players. Yeah. Very rarely is it all. I mean, that's obviously the sweetest thing in the world when you have everybody, the coaches, the players, all on the same page. I don't know if that's even possible at pro. There's so many egos involved, man. Me and my mom on this journey without a hockey dad, without anybody knowing hockey, we thought every level we'd move up, it would get more professional and more dialed in. No, man, it gets the exact opposite. The higher you go, the egos just expand and it gets more of a shit show. It's a circus. So it's 100% the players that set the culture of the team. Like that absolutely is. They make more money than the coach. They're the stars. It's all the players, in my opinion.
Okay. And overall, how would you say Minnesota was as a place to live?
Oh, wicked. Oh man. It was basically like living in a mini Toronto. Like I grew up 45 minutes north of Toronto. It was like living in a mini Toronto. Hockey crazy. You just had a little less because of the football and the basketball or whatever. But oh man, amazing. I spent summers there training. I met so many amazing people there, still close with them. Loved it. And that's not to say that there weren't amazing guys on the team. You talk about Nate Prosser, Marco Scandella, Spurgeon. Like there was Brodeen, amazing dudes. There just was ones that just kind of, it starts at the top, let's just say.
So I have to ask, speaking of some of the bigger name guys, Zach Parise, a former New Jersey Devil captain, led them to the cup in 2012 before they ultimately fell to a somewhat of a juggernaut, I would say, at this point. Kings team.
Yep.
How was he? What was your interactions with him like? Anything of note to mention on Zach?
Amazing guy, amazing dude. Just a quiet guy, you know. Pitbull, works so hard, but just does it in his own lane. Blinders on, doing his own thing, and that's him. That's his personality. And most interactions with him, I can't say I really ever talked to him much at the rink. It was maybe at like a team party where I happened to get there and there was a seat next to him. I sat down and we had some chats. That's pretty much my interactions with him.
Okay. Yeah, he I would say pound for pound in Devils history, he's definitely one of the toughest players for a small guy. He really was just feisty. He would go to the net, go to the corners, go to the dirty areas. Was a fan favorite, and yeah, unfortunately, the way he left and went to Minnesota will forever kind of sting a little bit. But staying on topic in the state of hockey, Minnesota, a little more topical, a current event for you, Kurtis. I don't know how closely you followed this, but my God, the Minnesota Wild and GM Billy Guerin, balls of steel Billy, goes out there and gets the prize, snatching it away from the front runners, my beloved New Jersey Devils. All signs indicated that this man was going to come to New Jersey, unite the three brothers. It was going to be a media frenzy, marketing dream, have this generational offensive defenseman, one of the best players in the league, and it all completely fell apart. Billy G swoops in. What are your kind of thoughts on the whole Quinn to Minnesota, which they've now renamed Quinnesota?
Never, ever thought he was going to the Devils. Thought it made no sense from a team makeup, from the money he's going to need to be paid at some point. Never, ever thought he was going there. People get way too wrapped up in that's kind of stuff, in my opinion. You got to look at the facts. Bill Guerin, to me, him and Julien Brisebois are the best GMs in the league. If I had to hire an American one, it would be Billy Guerin. I think he just absolutely gets it. I mean, he just gets it. And he's got Johnny Hynes there, which I know we're going to get into. That Stanley Cup window is wide open. You have an absolute game breaker in the pipes with Gustafsson, who's could go in when Wallstead doesn't play well, who's obviously tearing it up right now. You have Faber. You have the best decor in the league. Faber, Hughes, Spurgeon, Brodin, Middleton, Bogosian. Unbelievable. And you have Kaprizov and Boldy as game breakers up front. My goodness. Urov seemingly better than it looks. They obviously are going to attract now a huge centerman some way, somehow, eventually. And they're going to win a Stanley Cup with Quinn Hughes there. There's no doubt about it.
You really think they're going to win a cup with him?
100%. I think he's going to, if you look into it, they're the only team that can sign him before the new CBA rules
to
an 8-year deal, max signing bonus, all that stuff. So that's checked off. They have the practice facility. They have the game breakers. They have the open window. They're going to have the cap space eventually to do whatever. When those books, the books come off from Suter and Parise and everything, he's not going anywhere, and they will win. I think John Hynes is going to win a cup with that team there.
Wow. Bold proclamation. But yeah, I think I get what you're saying about the whole, getting Quinn wasn't like a dire need for the Devils. But when you hear that you're in on a guy and all signs, like Rutherford from Vancouver wanted to send him here. And we've heard this from, going back after last season, it just seemed like it was definitely going to happen. Obviously, the Hughes brothers wanted it to happen. And then after seeing the Quinn Hughes press conference, it really just seems like he fired some shots and he's like, you know what? And I think Billy G is going to sell him. Have you ever, by the way, you were speaking very highly of Bill Guerin. Have you ever met him?
I haven't, but everything I've seen about him, how he speaks in interviews, he lets it hang all out there. I think he's just the man. Like he gets it. And the other reason why would the Devils fans ever think Quinn Hughes was coming? The Canucks need players and centermen. They wanted Hischier. There's no chance. Like what was like just totally circumvents the whole what the Devils have going here. Hughes just needs to be healthy, and they're great. They're in a great spot. You're giving up Nico, the heartbeat of the team, the little Patrice Bergeron light. There's no chance. It was a perfect deal for them to get Marco Rossi, BM, Ogren. Like it's match made in heaven. That deal was the picture perfect deal.
There was an article that came out yesterday, and they didn't directly say it, but it seemed like, if you read between the lines, that there was a somewhat comparable package, I would say, offered from the Devils that was agreed to, but Fitzgerald could not clear the cap space to make it happen. And then as a result of that, the bat signal went out, and that's when Billy G swooped in. But the Devils package was Shimo Nemitz, Dawson Mercer, a very highly ranked D prospect from the KHL, Salayev, who's an absolute monster, and a first rounder, I think.
That that would have been incredible. I did see that. It's because of the cap, and I don't even him re-signing there and all those things. I didn't think it would happen, but if they were able to pull that off, I mean, that would have been definitely worth it.
I think so too. I think it's a huge miss, but hopefully it doesn't come back to sting them and we could see some other meaningful moves because my boys are hurt right now, decimated. So you're with Minnesota for 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 17, 16, 17, 17, 18. I forget what years it was there, but at least one of the years, assistant coach Scott Stevens, a New Jersey Devils absolute legend, my 1A player of all time. I have to have Marty number one. I grew up watching all these guys during the glory years under Lou Lamoriello. But what was your interactions with Scott Stevens like? Give me kind of insight into, because we haven't heard many stories about him as a coach. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts or stories, whatever you got for me on Scott Stevens while you were there with the Wild when he was there.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm like drooling. We're ready to talk about this because, like, my dad apparently knew him and went to something when he was younger. My dad always spoke about him. To get to meet him, I mean, my hand disappeared in his hand. Like, I don't have the biggest hands, but I'm 6'4". I'm not small hands, but my hand disappeared in his hand. His bone structure is just denser. He's just bigger. He's in better shape than the players that year. I mean, he's in the gym crushing weights. Boudreaux's not, obviously. Big dichotomy there. I mean, what was Ryan Suter going to say to Scott Stevens? When Ryan wanted to play more minutes or we wanted to whine and complain about stuff or whatever, Scott Stevens, I'm pretty sure, just went, Like, no wonder we had the second best. The team had the second best defense in the league that year. I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, and he was gone after 1 year, and I think that tells you all you need to know about maybe the coach.
So you think he left because it just wasn't a fit for him? All Devils fans salivate about him joining the organization in literally any capacity at this point, just to bring back some of that winning fire. But to your point, you were saying, if guys would complain and whatever, like, what are you really going to tell this guy? Do you think that messages or teachings, whatever you want to call it, coming from a coach when they're a guy who has accomplished everything there is and is obviously still very, very physically intimidating on top of it, and being that he was that type of player, do you think that has different weight versus a guy maybe like Boudreau or somebody else, or even a guy who didn't play in the league? What is your thoughts kind of on, how a message is interpreted or taken from guys coming from a guy like Stevens versus a guy who was not him?
My goodness. You better be like a John Cooper, who's so smart, such a good people person, his interpersonal skills to know guys, to pull them into the fight. You better be elite at that. Not Mike Babcock, let's just say. You need to be like that with John Cooper, because, man, Scott Stevens wasn't just a former player that would come in and yell and scream, like, look at me, look what I did. He just walked the talk. Like, you could tell he was more prepared in doing video than any other coach. You could tell he cared more. You meet him and he's just different. He's just cut from a different cloth, and you could feel it. It's an aura. That's what matters. If you don't have that as a former player, you better have it as a coach that never played. But even the coaches that I've been around coaches that played, and they're just basically grown-up kids that didn't know what else to do other than coach hockey, and they just do it to make a paycheck. Scott Stevens, when he does something, he puts everything into it, everything, and you could just feel it, and it was just different. I respect that guy so much. He's on a different level of intellect, of care, of not boasting about who he is, just being direct and fair. I mean, my interactions with him were just like, can you be my dad, please?
After hearing you say all that, I didn't think I could want him to rejoin the organization anymore. But coming from, I would consider you an unbiased party. You didn't grow up a Devils fan, so you had no attachment to this guy before you met him there, I'm sure. And for you to speak so glowingly about him and everything he did and kind of how he goes about his business, it makes me want him even more now. I didn't think it was possible, but you've now made me want this man in the organization more than ever. And people talk about it all the time. I do think he's enjoying retirement. He made a ton of money, obviously, and I think he's just chilling, kind of hunting and just living the good life now. Like, I don't want to go through the daily grind of NHL life. That he did it for 2 decades plus. I think he's kind of checked out, but I certainly would love it, man. Stevens behind the bench again. He was there briefly with Adam Oates, which was a fun time for Devils fans to see these hockey geniuses. But some bad Devils teams. It was bad timing. I really would love for him to be around a Devils team that has a chance of doing something. He was there during some dark years, and it's like, damn it, we may have kind of soured him on the whole thing in the organization during some shit years. Brutal stuff, but yeah, really appreciate the insight onto Scott Stevens. I don't know that have heard someone talk about him so in depth in the coaching role, and that definitely was very eye-opening. And like I said, now I want him even more, and I didn't think that was possible. All right, so you leave Minnesota, you sign a two-way deal with the Devils for 18-19. At that point, were there any other teams interested in you? Kind of walk me through your process of figuring out where you're going to play for that season.
Well, let me tell you, man, after Chuck Fletcher and everybody who drafted me gets fired, I go through the depression of going down and when I shouldn't have. And man, I get everything back on track. I remember Richard Park pulled me aside one morning skate before Grand Rapids we were playing. He goes, Gabriel, you're getting called back up here soon. Keep going, keep going. I'm like, yes, I'm back. Even against a GM who doesn't want me up there, I'm going to get back there. I'm going to make it. And that day, that game, second shift, my wrist got sliced by a skate. So that effectively ended my time there. 2 tendons, nerves. It was awful. And going into free agency, I was terrified. I mean, I just failed to make it with the NHL team that drafted me and put their neck out for me as a third-year eligible, third-round tough guy. I was gutted. I made it as a free agent in the OHL. I was gutted, man. And I sat down with my agent, and I just told my agent, this is what's happening. I made a list of all the teams in order from best to worst. Some I totally left off because they already had tough guys. I knew exactly where I wanted to go. New Jersey was 1, St. Louis was 2. Who were the first 2 teams that called ahead of the deadline? New Jersey 1, St. Louis 2. It was that simple. They both offered. St. Louis or New Jersey was number 1, so I went there.
Wow.
I know the game, brother. Let me tell you.
You really looked at the whole thing and you're like, listen, I'm going to kind of rank where I want to go and see how this shakes out. And one of the teams that was on your list, my beloved New Jersey Devils, were on the list. So you start off with the Devils organization and bingo, the Binghamton Devils, one of the more interesting affiliates the Devils have ever had in terms of their logo. I don't know how I feel about it. I do have some jerseys because I have to, but kind of tell me about your time in Binghamton. And you know, what was that like? You had mentioned Kevin Rooney and Nate Bastian were your first line mates there.
Man, I was so pumped to sign with them. As I said, I'm a fan before I was a fan that just grew into a body that could play and forced myself and fought my way there. So I studied everything. I know everything. So I knew that was the place to go. I get as big as I could ever be. I got 227 pounds. I tried to just get beefed up and just say, screw it, let's go in there. And I thought I had a great camp, and John Hynes thought so too. But then I get cut on TV with the Devils behind the glass shit. I was not happy about that, let me tell you. But I went down, positive mindset. Okay, I'm not going down the depression rabbit hole again. Nope, not doing it. I get to Binghamton. I know that Kevin Rooney is on a 2-way this year and a 1-way next year. He's being penciled in as their 4th line center next year. I'm like, that's the guy that I have to have chemistry with. Me and him, like boys, instantly off the ice. You couldn't not be friends with Kevin Rooney. He's friends with everybody. He's the best guy ever. Nathan Bastian on our wing, a guy they're high on. Perfect. He's hilarious too. Funny guy. Still 2 guys I know to this day. First 2 games in bingo. 4th line, we're playing like 13, 15 minutes. I get 2 assists. Our line is the factor in both wins to start the season. I'm like, let's go. I got this. I come into the rink for game 3. And I walk by I don't even look at the lineup. Why would I look at the lineup? I'm obviously playing. Start getting ready. And then somebody had to literally tell me, like, Gabe, did you look at the lineup? I'm like, no. They're like, you're not playing. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm literally going about my business about thinking I'm playing. And I go right to the coach's office. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, you're not playing. He's like, don't put it on me. It's organization. I said, well, who? Fitzy. Whatever, whoever. So I call my agent, they call them, and he said, yeah, agent said they told me you're not a prospect anymore. So they need other guys to play. Just is what it is. We didn't draft you. I just gutted again. It was so unfair to me. So BS. And this is the politics of hockey and everything. And that began a very dark period of my life.
Was that your lowest point in your hockey career?
At that point, after that first one of getting sent down with that win streak in Minnesota, every single thing that happened now was either the biggest high or the lowest low.
So then you had talked about previously being in Binghamton, realizing you're not going to play, then you said you need to get, you need to unleash the beast somehow. So you started treating practices like games. And you had mentioned you had ran Michael McLeod in a practice. Kind of walk me through. You just like, I'm gonna open some eyes or just kind of force my way onto this roster by force, just kind of how I've done at every level beforehand.
Literally. So if you want the deeper dive of this was what I'm going to say for my book. But on the surface, what I can tell you to salt the hay for everybody out there is, yeah, that's exactly what I decided. I basically said something happened in my life that came across my radar. And I just said, I'm going back to old me. Like I don't give a shit. And I would get to practice. I'd be in the gym sweating for an hour before guys got to the rink. I'd be the last to leave. I'd be putting Vaseline on my face for practice. I remember the first practice with this mindset. I went out there, and Mark Denny would always start practice with battle drills, and I freaking loved it. And I just buried someone in 3-on-3 at the start of the practice, and everybody lost it. Guys cross-checking me, coming after me, and I just, what are you going to do? You want to fight? Okay. And I remember going back to the bench after that drill, and everybody's yelling at me. Everybody's just like, what the hell's going on? And I just said, I'm not going to stop until I either play more or get called up. So tell who you got to tell. And wow. Mike McLeod later that practice, or maybe the other day, turned at the last second and I hit him from behind at the boards. Eric Gryba came over, pumped him a couple times before people broke it up. And I just said, this is how it is. Picked up my gloves, back in line for the next drill. And
wow.
That's how I got to the NHL. I guess they heard about that. I got up to the NHL a couple times.
Wait, rewind. Did you play any other games for Binghamton after that, or was it right to the Devils?
No. I played for another amount of time for sure, but I kept coming up and I kept getting here and there. But then what happened? I went up right before. This is what they kept doing with me. And when I was depressed, I was hating it. I felt like a piece of cattle. They were bringing me up to the NHL, be like, hey, you get to make some money and be up here and not play, but we're going to send guys down. We need to take you up here so we can put guys down to play, like Bastian and these guys. So I was basically just being moved around like a piece of meat. But then once I had my new mindset and I started using that, and then I came up and I wasn't playing. It was the All-Star break. All-Star? Yeah. Just after Christmas and All-Star break. Anyway, everybody goes on vacations and they do have their fun time and all that stuff. But I said, no. I went home for like a day, saw my family, 2 days, girlfriend, whatever, came back. And I skated by myself for 6 days at the practice facility. I had begged them to just let me skate, open the door, let me go skate. And I skated for 6 days to make sure that I was ready when the season started up again. So I basically went like 13 days without an off day. And the 13th day, I got to play against the Montreal Canadiens. And I did enough in that game with little plays on the wall, little things that Hynes went, And I just kept building from that.
Wow. So when you start just becoming an uncaged animal in the practices to try to get your way back into either an AHL game or the call-up, how does that kind of affect the dynamic with these guys off the ice?
That's what's funny. People talk about being cringe and stuff. I've always been a cringe dude. When you break out of the cringe prison, that's when life starts. So guys didn't like it at first, especially the vets and all these things. But eventually, what are they going to fucking do? I mean, I'll just fight every one of them back to back if I have to. So they kind of just were like, yeah, I guess some of them hated me. Some of them liked me. I don't care. I'm trying to get to the NHL. I don't care what some guy in bingo thinks about me. So of course, there are probably people that didn't like it, but they got used to it enough. And obviously, I toned it down once I started playing more. I said I toned it down, play me more. I didn't do it every day. It just became a thing where they just knew every practice, if we're doing a drill, I'm going to hit you like a game. And that's just what happened. And then when I got up to the Devils, oh man, I brought that to there.
Wow. Circling back, McLeod obviously had a couple years with the Devils, looked pretty promising, looked like a really good depth center. That whole scandal happens with all those other guys. What are your thoughts kind of in the post after the trial and whatever happened? Kind of a divisive topic. A lot of people thought that, because they went through the legal process and were found not guilty or were not found guilty, I forget it, because it's a very technical thing. People were trying to differentiate it. But either way, they were not officially found guilty of these charges. Do you think that they should have been allowed to play hockey again in the NHL after
it's very touchy? Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I didn't hear you.
Not pretty much. Did you think they should have been allowed back in the NHL after everything happened with the legal process?
Yeah, so I think if you had talked to me a bunch of years ago, I'd have said hell no. But I've gone through my own transformation journey, and everybody can have their opinions on this. But I truly believe that there's only two human behaviors. You either do something crying out for love, whether that's anything in your life. You could do it from a place for needing love and trying to find it on the horizon, and happiness on the horizon, and relationships and jobs and careers and all these things. That's what most people are doing. And that's the result of the world. It's the human ego. Or you can come from a place from love. So I know that when I was crying out for love, I did things I'm not proud of. And now that I know, I would never do those things. So I do believe that everybody deserves a second chance. However, I don't discount that. I mean, let's just look at the statistics. How many people do you think, what percentage of sexual assault offenders do you think are ever convicted?
I know. Well, I don't. I mean, I know from reading it that it's very, very low.
1%. So, from that perspective, if you look into the trial, what was admitted happened. We know things happened. So, to me, if I'm in their shoes, I would have been terrified. Handled it the way they did. Who I am now, I would have just come out and said whatever happened. Like. It's just, you just got to. I mean, I know you people would say it's easy for me to say in my shoes, but I'm writing a book about all my shit. People can come at me, like whoever, past people, believe me, bring it on. I will admit anything. Everybody's got skeletons. It's all going to be in there. So you have to face these things, the darkness inside you. And I don't think those guys did. Looking at Carter Hart's interviews and him being asked about it, he clearly hasn't thought about it enough. Swept it under the rug, that his answers are trash. He's clearly not. If he is doing things off the ice, he's not telling anybody. Is that by design? He's making him look terrible by his answers. All the guys out there are making themselves look terrible by not, from what I can see publicly. Again, perception is everything. In their personal lives, they maybe have changed and they're great guys. I don't know. But perception-wise, they're not helping themselves. Let's just say that.
No, I can see that for sure. A lot of people still think they should be banned. And, like I said, it's a very divisive thing. People on both sides of the fence. I was just curious your take, because the New Jersey Devils could use a center. And a lot of people thought that the Devils should, try to bring back McLeod. I just really had no interest personally, because I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the player that people remember from over 2 years ago. And so for me, it just comes down to strictly, performance in this regard. Like there will be better depth center options out there, in my opinion. But
I will touch on that. I don't think you're finding a better fourth line center. He had everything.
But still today, though,
I don't think
wow.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's one of the top faceoff guys. He could skate. He could score and brings depth scoring. He's an unbelievable locker room guy. I don't care what anybody says. He's the funniest. He's amazing. He's amazing. Him and Nate Bastian together. You want to talk about a comedy show? You think of like the Tkachuk brothers speaking on a podcast, or the Kelce brothers. If you put Nathan Bastian and Mike McLeod on a podcast, be the biggest podcast in the world.
We all knew they were boys, and there was always some funny clips of them kind of behind the scenes and the rare things that the Devils would show. And they definitely seemed like characters for sure. So you think, wow, I'm just soaking this all in, that you think even still today, after being out of the league for 2 years, that he would still bring that as a fourth line center. So yeah, then I guess you have to believe then that if that's the case, that he still would have it. And lots of teams obviously always needing a center, very crucial position in this league, that he's been blackballed from the NHL essentially then.
Absolutely. He top penalty killer, top faceoff guy, will fight literally anybody and get beat up if he has to, score goals, great locker room guy. It's because he was the ringleader of that whole situation. He's definitely been, it's very obvious.
Wow.
Obviously I have no proof of that. I'm not going to disparage anybody or say that they're blackballing anybody. I'm just saying, like, you look at Kaepernick, just other guys are signing, not McLeod. McLeod has more than just enough ability as Carter Hart, Dubé, all these other guys.
So I do think, reading the details that were put out regarding the story, that a lot of people, I guess, can't comprehend. And I'm not saying that this is like, I don't know. It's a tricky thing, but I'm curious if similar stories, minus the girl saying she wasn't willing, but I'm trying to explain this as good as possible, and it's touchy, so I'm just trying to phrase it properly. But do you think at different levels of hockey, these kind of, for lack of a better term, I'll call them like wild sexual type of stories, is this thing somewhat common?
Absolutely. Rick Westhead had a book come out a couple months ago now called We Breed Lions, and my story of some of the stuff I went through in this aspect of hockey culture is in there. And it's very revealing, and it's better than it ever has been as society is, but that don't mean it still ain't an infected wound. And yeah, like, I mean, back in the day, I mean, this is more than common, like, I mean, average, but now it's definitely gotten less. But look at, what did I say? When you get higher up in hockey, what did I find? The egos get bigger. When the egos get bigger, more crazy shit happens. It just is what it is.
In terms of this conversation, though, you're talking about these things happen with fully willing participants, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Oh my goodness. You won't even want to, I'm not even going to say some of that stuff that are they're so willing, but I'm at the exact same time, these things happen where bad shit happens.
Right. So being that you had kind of a front row seat to some sort of these things, it probably on the surface, the story itself was probably not as shocking to you as it was for many people, because I do feel like that is kind of part of it, that people can't fathom these types of things happening willingly. And I do think that's kind of an important point that gets missed, because I think right away when some people heard the story, they kind of thought like, oh, there's no way someone would willingly kind of engage in this behavior because they're naive to it.
No, I know for a fact there's many people who love engaging in that willingly, but there's also many like this, in this case, seemingly, that we're not willing at all. All of it exists.
For sure. All right, switching back to on the ice now. Mackenzie Blackwood is one of the goalies in bingo. Did you think he was going to be an NHL regular then? Kind of what were your thoughts of him? He unfortunately had some setbacks and things with the Devils. Once upon a time, myself and many others, and probably the organization, thought that he was going to be the next franchise goaltender that we were so desperately looking for. Obviously had years of the great Martin Brodeur, had a couple wasted years of a very, very good Corey Schneider, which that deal happened on your draft day. Devils were drafting 9th, I think, and they trade the pick to Vancouver to get Corey Schneider. Unfortunately, that's how Johan Hedberg, who was the backup at the time, loved the Moose. That's how he basically found out he was out of an NHL job. And then it kind of created this uneasiness with the great Marty. And there was a whole thing. But what do you remember about Blackwood? Did he seem like he was going to be an NHL guy to you back then?
I know him personally because he was in my agency, and one of my good buddies is his best friend. So I knew for a fact he had every tool, but I didn't think he had the toolbox back then to put it in, the mental aspect. And I think that's what scared off the Devils, was the mental side of things. He's a very different bird. And we know that about hockey players, but he's a different bird. He stands out as one of the more different birds as goalies I've ever met. And me and him almost got in a fist fight in the Binghamton locker room one time. He's very divisive at times with his opinions and how he acts. And he's not afraid of confrontation. He's an enormous human being. Always had the tools. I just think he had to learn how to put in the toolbox, and it looks like he has. So I don't think he was going to figure it out then with the Devils. No.
Yeah, unfortunately, it did seem he had some immaturities at different points of the whole thing. But yeah, he's certainly in a beautiful situation now, man. We shipped him to San Jose. He did pretty well on some bad teams, and now got that payday. He's on the Avalanche. I don't see how they don't win a cup there during his contract. They're just filthy right now. And their starter, Scott Wedgwood, another former Devil, that the timing just never kind of aligned.
Yeah, why is Wedgwood starting there? Why, like, he makes like 1/5 of what Blackwood makes. Is just Bednar just more confident in?
I think so.
Wedgwood?
I don't follow them super closely, but Wedgwood has been playing lights out, and they're probably just kind of riding the hot hand. I'm not sure. Blackwood may have gotten injured at some point as well. I forget.
I'm so happy for Wedgwood, though. Like, that guy has been around a long time. He's a good goalie. I would love to see him go on a run, make it as a full-time starter later in his career. Man, that'd be sweet. So
much later. It is a great story for him. Obviously, he was, kind of a journeyman-ish kind of goalie, and now he finally gets this big breakthrough, and he's the starter on an absolute wagon. Like, yeah, I am pumped for him. I do hate the Avalanche. Personally, they beat my Devils in a gut-wrenching Stanley Cup final in 2001. The Devils were up 3-2 in the series. Game 6 was in New Jersey at our old barn, which you probably don't know about. It was in a place called the Meadowlands before they moved to Newark.
Oh, damn.
But But up 3-2, I was at the game. They blew that game, didn't win the cup. Then they go to game 7 in Denver. They lost. And so forever, I'll always hate the Avs, and I'll never be able to root for them no matter what. I hope he does well, but another cup win for the Avs would be kind of more salt in the wounds for Devils fans. So then eventually you get called up to New Jersey. You end up playing 22 games there. This was the season Taylor Hall was actually injured, I think, a couple months before you got there. Was he still around the team? Did you have any interactions with him? He was coming off a monster season before, winning the Hart Trophy, the Devils' only Hart Trophy winner ever, and he dragged a fairly mediocre team to the playoffs on his back. Just one of the greatest single efforts by a guy in Devils history. I was curious, was he still around the team when he was injured, and if you have any stories or interactions with him?
Yeah, so I got told, I didn't know this rule. If you stay after the All-Star break, you're kind of on the roster the rest of the year. So when I got told that by Hynes that I was staying, oh my God, you want to think the party I threw in my head when I knew I was staying the show the rest of the year? My goodness. So whether I was in or out, I was happy as a pig in shit. So I'd sit up in the press box with Halsey and talk hockey as we watched the games. Great dude, super chill. He did a great job setting up our rookie party in New York City, which was a freaking time. Great interactions from him. He just seemed he was obviously in a place where, as you know, his knee was kind of something that had a lot of opinions on where to get treatment and what to do. And like, it was one of those situations. So he was, I think, frustrated and tired from that, but I'm so happy to see that he got that figured out and has continued his career in obviously different places. But yeah, would have loved to have been on the ice with him. That's for sure.
Yeah. That season that he had was phenomenal. Like I said, one of the better, Devils seasons. Like without him, they would have went nowhere that year. It was unfortunate kind of how it ended. It kind of got a little ugly. He did a little, he taunted the fans. He got in his feelings a little bit after the horrific power play, got booed off the ice one game. But I wanted him back last year when there was rumblings in Chicago that he was going to be available. I kind of put it out there, and some people were on board and some people were still holding the grudge. I'm like, listen, guys, at this point, I just want to see this team win another cup. I'm 40 years old now. I was 17, about to turn 18 when they won in 2003. And like, it feels like an eternity ago. And we've just been marred with a dark period where it seemed like the light was coming through in 22, 23. Didn't quite pan out, but I'm just hoping for some bright days. But now we go February 9th, 2019 against the Wild at the Rock, the team that drafted you. You fight a pretty tough customer in Marcus Foligno. Was there extra motivation on your end to be like, you know what, this is the team that drafted me? Eventually it came to the fact that they didn't want me and I moved on. Were you kind of extra charged up to kind of make the Wild regret the decision or kind of prove that you had a lot to still give and that they made a mistake?
What do you think?
I'd imagine yes.
Oh boy, was I fired up. I mean, I was trucking people that game. I don't know what Broads and the boys were thinking on D, thinking I wasn't going to finish every check. I was blowing people up. And then Marcus put the absolute seatbelt on me. He didn't want to fight me at all, which I was really disappointed with. He was terrified, but he went on to get a goal and assist and Gordie Howe to win the game, whatever. But yeah, I was just a little bit fired up. I'd never been traded before. I'd never been with a different organization. I was with one team in the OHL. I thought I would only be with Minnesota my whole NHL career. That's how I was. I'm a loyal, like whatever, but no. So playing a former team the first time, I was jacked up.
Did you have a target in mind for a scrap for that game, or you're just like, whoever's going to give me one, I'm taking it?
The toughest guy possible was Marcus. So yeah, him.
That worked out. And then we go to back-to-back games the very next day. Not much rest for you. Right back at it against the Canes, a team that I hate more than anything. You fight Michael Furland. Another good scrap, putting you at 2-0 on your Devils career. Kind of what do you remember about this one? Is there anything kind of extra? I don't know if it's exhausting back-to-back days. Is there anything there, or is it just kind of like a new day and it doesn't really matter that it was such a quick turnaround?
Oh, brother, I got stories for days about here, man. Oh, I was floating. You want to talk about energy? I could have played 100 games in a row. I could have fought 100 days, and I don't give it. I was zooming. I was living my dream. I wasn't going anywhere. Holy God damn. I mean, me and Runes sitting in the corner of the room right by the big speaker. Every time Hynes came in and spoke, we're drooling on the edge of our seat, ready to go through a wall for him, while the rest of the guys were kind of like, meh. I go out there. He starts us against them, and I see Furland starting, and I'm like, oh, for sure. And I think Ferlin got the message. He asked me, and I was like, yes, please. And yeah, that couldn't have been a better way to start the game. It's exactly who I wanted to fight with that big right hand. And he clocked me with one of them, took it, ate it like it was nothing. And yeah, it was a great way to start that game, man. I was firing all cylinders.
So now you had 2 nice scraps, 2 wins early on in your Devil stint. At that point, was this like, did you start to feel like, all right, I'm kind of back exactly where I should be and kind of back on track despite all the adversity and things that happened before? Now I'm kind of back right where I need to be.
Exactly. From coming from the worst depression of my life earlier that season in Binghamton, the recent most worst depression. Fuck. Hell yeah, brother. I was ready to go. And that's what that feeling is what translated into what happened next.
And now we go to another big moment, which I'd imagine was super awesome. February 21st, 2019, back at the Rock. It seemed to be a very kind building to you. Against the Ottawa Senators, first NHL goal. Brett Seney wins the ozone draw, and you just rip it on net. The goalie kind of waves at it with his glove, banks it off and in. Did this? What was going through your head at this point? You know, you've made multiple NHL teams now. You've beat some guys down, but now you pot one. What's going through your mind at this point?
Just like, wow, that was a shitty first one, but I will take it to be on the board. And that's my face there, just kind of putting my hands up. It was the most relaxed celly I ever had. Just happy to be there. Happy that Gupper Seney snapped that back to me. He told me, Gabriel, go on the wall. I'm winning it back to you. And I just slinged it on net. So great feeling to get that one, obviously against a bad Ottawa team. And that just kind of opened me up more of just like, this is for real. This is where I'm going to be now. This is my home. And then look what happened the next game.
The next game, Brendan Smith, who eventually became a Devil at Madison Square Garden.
Is that the next game?
It was.
Okay,
yep,
so I thought the next game, I'm getting Mike confused. I thought the next game was the
Montreal game. We're getting to Montreal. Don't you wait.
Yeah,
this is now the next one.
This game was brutal. This game was shitty, man. I should have had a huge fight at MSG against Brendan Smith, and I just felt like
unfortunate.
Rarely lost my balance after my second year fighting in junior. I figured out the balance thing, but for whatever reason, it's just something happened there. It sucked. So the only thing else I can remember from that game was just being at MSG was cool. And I tried to hit JT Miller, and it was like hitting a brick wall. He was strong as shit. That's all I remember from that.
After you kind of got tripped up and fell, and you didn't really get the scrap, did you try to get another one at any point in the game?
I tried, but it just kind of didn't happen. And it sucks. It just was just a shitty circumstance. That happens in fighting. It's so unpredictable.
So now the game you were talking about before, February 25th against Montreal, a much prettier variety. Shot on goal. Price makes a save. You corral a juicy rebound. You get it to the backhand. You just throw it up real nice. That goal actually made it 2-0 at the time and ended up being the game-winning goal. You had previously described this as the best feeling of your life. And I'm curious, I guess, what's going through your mind at this point? The celly was definitely nice. But yeah, walk me through this whole thing, and obviously scoring on Carey Price, another nice kind of note on the beautiful goal. Walk me through this, and I guess would you still say this was now talking today, years later, is this still the greatest feeling of your life to date?
No, not anymore, but definitely back then. And my goodness. Yeah, I mean, my skates hit the ice first shift, second period, and I just felt amazing. I just felt it was coming. Sprint back in the D zone, puck goes up the left wing wall. Somebody rims it around. Carey freaking Price can't stop it. I barrel into Victor Mete. Puck goes to Runes. Back to Connor Carrick. I beat my man to the net, Victor Mete, as John Hynes always said to do. Beautiful tip, back to hand that thing in. I just felt it coming. It was like an out of body type experience where I just like was on autopilot in the flow. And then to get to celebrate like that with that room, and then the camera is just right there that I look into. Oh my God, dude. Every cell in my body erupted in ecstasy. Like, holy shit. This one I earned. This one I deserve. This one I am a National Hockey League player anymore. I am not just going to get a cup of coffee. I'm going to drink the whole damn pot for as many years as I can.
Is that your favorite hockey memory?
It'd have to be as far as like hockey memory. Yeah, I'd have to. I had a Gordie Howe hat trick in the playoffs in junior, my third year when I got drafted. That might be my favorite, just the overall of everything it meant. But this felt so good. It's like, wow.
Yeah, so at this point, this is a pretty active 3-game stretch for you. You get your first NHL goal. You have a fight at MSG. Granted, even it wasn't the prettiest one, but it was still a scrap. And now you come and score this pretty one against Montreal. Are you now kind of at the highest point of your career, would you say?
I probably wasn't sleeping more than 4 hours a night. I didn't want to sleep. I would bounce out of my bed. I'd be at the rink, at the Rock, 2 hours, 3 hours before anybody else, before the trainers. I'd be in the shooting room for 2 hours before practice. I was just bouncing off the walls. Like life was like, I was like living in a bouncy castle. That's how good I felt. Like I can't even explain it. I felt like probably felt like what Bob Probert felt like when he was snorting lines nonstop, except I was just high on life.
Wow. Did you ever do drugs while you were playing?
For whatever reason, that wasn't my thing. You when you get my book, you'll see the things that I dealt with. But for me, the hard drugs, whether it was my mom as a teacher, whether it was my wanting to perform well on the ice, those were never my things. Thank goodness, because if I did, oh my God, I don't know if I'd still be here.
Throughout your career, do you think it was something that was kind of prevalent in hockey?
That's what's funny. People ask me that, but this is the thing. I was such an opinionated, aggressive, confrontational person. People knew, you don't bring that shit around me. Don't bring PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. Don't bring cocaine around me. Don't bring any of that around me. So I never saw it once. Guys just knew not to bring that near me.
Okay.
I was the health freak, the crazy guy that would do anything to play. So that was not on the menu for me.
That makes sense. And now my favorite scrap of your Devils career, this one. This is March 13th at Edmonton. Milan Lucic. This one was amazing. It was a full minute. You were inside, you were outside, you were using some of those Shotokan moves, throwing lefts, throwing rights. I remember watching this and getting completely fired up. Walk me through this one.
Well, I'm going to save some important parts of this one for the book because it's so powerful to me, fighting my hero. But I mean, that photo you saw of him there, I mean, he literally, what's crazy, he looks exactly like my dad, who I also look very similar to. Like, anyway, it was like, it's somebody I always said I told everybody I'm going to fight Milan Lucic. I told people a lot of things in my life. I'm going to play in the NHL. I'm already playing there. I'm going to fight Lucic. I'm going to fight my first game. Did these things because I just manifested them, right? Just believed it so wholeheartedly. So first time I played Lucic, he was on his first line with Edmonton or something, I think, and I was no chance going to get to fight him. But going into that game, him being on the fourth line and going through tough times with the team, I knew I was going to get to fight him. And I asked him like 3 times the first shift. I kept asking. We kept getting these quick whistles and face-offs. I'm like, Luch, by the third time, I'm like, we're going. And he just didn't believe that I wanted to fight him, I think. And finally, when puck went down the ice, McLeod shot the puck on net, and I just grabbed onto his collar of his jersey, said, we're going. And then he dropped his shit really quick. And man, it was like fighting a bull, let alone riding a bull the whole time. He's 235 pounds, he's just a monster. Try to just keep him off balance, not let him ding me too many times too hard. Use my jabs, roughed off his face a lot. And then, man, the stuff I'll tell in the book after is some of the coolest shit ever.
When's the book coming out?
April 20th, 2026, to honor Christ consciousness on my 33rd birthday, baby.
Wow, I'm fired up. How far along are you in the process?
I wrote 200,000 words myself from like February to May, June. And then I realized I just had the intuition that my thing is speaking and coaching and the other stuff, not writing. It's a different medium. So I took that 200,000 words and we brought in a co-author who's become so close to me. So me and her it's not going to be her writing it in my name on the book as my ghostwriter. We're truly writing it together. So it's going to be me with Dana McKelly. So we are on track to have the manuscript done mid-January. Then it goes to final editing type stuff. Then I'll get the audiobook done and all that stuff. So it's coming along wicked, man.
I'm very excited for that to come out. But circling back to that Lucic fight, this is going to be the quick show and tell portion of the interview. I am a compulsive Devils memorabilia collector. I'm not going to get into the expansive nature of it because I've had some girlfriends that thought I should be in a mental institution. But this is right here, the Kurtis Gabriel game-worn jersey from that Lucic fight.
No way.
This is the one from the fight.
No way.
Yes, sir. This is the one from the fight. And the one thing, when I first got this, I didn't realize right away. And I've seen this before in the past. I have a ridiculous amount of jerseys. But the one thing that stood out in true tough guy fashion, we got the double fight straps. Walk me through this, because when you see this, you already know what time it is. You could pick up a hockey jersey of any kind, not know who the person is or even what the team is. But if you see 2 fight straps, you already know what time it is. So I'm curious, what is the does the equipment staff know right away? Do you go up to them? You're like, listen, I'm going to be getting after it, so we need another strap. And they're like, how does that get put in there?
Yeah, great question, man. You know your shit. And for all the people out there, we have a jersey strap at the back that you have to have tied down. If your jersey comes off in a game, you get kicked out of the game. So a lot of skilled guys forget to do it. They get in a fight, their jersey comes off, and they're out.
It just happened to Jonas Siegenthaler on defense for the Devils. So that's cut you off. All right, so go ahead. So
I had my tie down at the back, but then I was thinking, why do I want my jersey to come over my head ever? I want to limit that. It causes so many issues. So I said, I need a front strap. And some apparently you have to get it like approved with the league and all this bull crap. But I said, anyway, just every team I went to for a while now was just, that's mandatory. Get it on all the jerseys. I actually had Nolan Bowker, who is my assistant trainer in Lehigh. He's now a trainer for the BCHL team out west in Canada. And he messaged me the other day, said he just put one on for another kid. Telling them that I used to do that all the time. So I would have the back strap, I'd have the front strap. And then what I would do is I would take skate laces and weave that into my pants. So instead of having the regular lace that comes with my pants, I'd have a hockey skate lace to tie up my pants. But then I would loop the pants lace up into that front strap. So everything was just locked down as much as possible.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm kind of a gear nerd, and with collecting game worn stuff, you see these kind of idiosyncrasies of different guys over the years. Did you have any other kind of equipment quirks, whether it was with sticks, gloves, skates, anything like that? Did you have anything else that you kind of did that was a little bit extra or outside of the norm?
Yeah. That's some of my OCD like tendencies I didn't realize at the time. But put it this way, you knew what time it was every game when the music's about to be shut off. We're all getting about almost fully dressed, and you'll see Gaber walking around the room, bending his knees. Knee bending, 1 foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, both feet, because my skates had to be perfectly tied. And I'm talking like loose, but perfectly tight, yet still loose, but the right knee bend. And I swear my right knee is lower than my left knee. Like it's just a weird body type. My long legs, I just didn't have to feel perfect. And guys would just go from the first time not saying anything, and then a couple games in playing with me, they'd be like, Gaber, what are you doing? And then I'd tell them, and I wasn't shy, just what I had to do. And by the, a weekend of playing with me, they're like, whether it's practice or games, they're just laughing. There goes Gaber, so I had a lot of little things like that. You wouldn't believe, as the average fan, how much for a guy like me who was in my head, how much feeling good in my equipment changed how I played. And what boggles my mind are guys like Patrick Marleau, who, when I played with him, he would have his gear off after the second period in the cold tub so fast and then put it back on. Like it was like he would just throw on clothes and you go play. You could go give him any stick, gloves, you just go out there. And I was like never taking my gear off, had to be perfect. I would sit in my gear all game. I just take my helmets and my gloves off and wait in the second period to stay warm too. Like it just, people are crazy about their gear, and I certainly had my issues.
I think a story came out that Marleau was using skates for like some obscene amount of time. I forget. I want to say it was like 10 years plus or something. And something happened with it, and the equipment staff had to rig it up some way because he refused to change. I know. I always find the equipment quirk stuff very, very interesting. All right, so staying on the Devils, you played with a very young Nico Hischier. I'm curious if you have any good young Nico stories. He's probably a lot different than he is now, I'd imagine. But yeah, any good Nico stories or anything that kind of sticks out to you about that baby-faced Nico Hischier?
Yeah, I don't think he's much different now personally because he's such a good dude. I think he's probably only gotten better as a guy in ways. He is amazing, man. He really is. I didn't know what to expect from him, but he's the leader a team needs. He's not the leaders I had in Minnesota. He's a team guy. He gets along with everyone. He can hang with everyone. He can chameleon into everyone's kind of thing that they like. He works his freaking bag off. He's so skilled. I would take that guy on my team any freaking day. I mean, And then it just shows everything. When I actually went to a Devils game in Nashville post-career, and Nate Beliveau, who's still a trainer with the team at the time, brought me into the room and got to see the guys and how they welcomed me back, and just the smile on Nico's face seeing me and so happy how I was doing well and better. And even though I wasn't at the time, meant a lot. So yeah, let's just say that guy knows how to have fun to a point where it's not too much. It's the right amount. He just gets it.
So I'm very curious now that you said all those nice things about him. A lot of, I don't want to call them uneducated, but a lot of fans that did grow up or follow the team in a time when I did, where we had a very kind of opposite type of guy in Scott Stevens, very opposite in both kind of demeanor and gameplay. A lot of people are not really used to the type of leadership that we see from Nico Hischier, and a lot of people have, some insane takes regarding Nico. But what can you say in terms of what you would imagine his leadership style is, and how guys could still take to that, even though it's not the fiery, go kill people kind of Scott Stevens persona?
I think he's just like a Patrice Bergeron light. He's not the loudest guy, but when he needs to, he'll say something. He leads by how he plays. He's so accountable defensively. He's so hardworking in battles. Look at how he's been blossoming in his career. He's just getting better with age. I have anybody who's dunking on him or anything just literally just doesn't know any better. They don't have the knowledge.
Different guys go about it different ways.
Yeah, Patrice Bergeron light, that's pretty damn good.
Definitely a high compliment. And I'm going to ask the same thing about a young Jesper Bratt, one of the other cornerstones of the Devils currently. Pretty damn solid player for the Devils over the past several seasons. What do you remember about Bratt, and any good stories about him?
I recently read Christy Flannery's story about him and his mental coach, and it makes a lot of sense looking back. Very focused for a 7th round pick. That's not supposed to be much. Could tell he's just approached the game differently. So knew his game. So knew that he was have to make it, doing all the really high-end skating and the skills, and use that to his advantage. He's never going to win the most battles, but he's going to win them playing his game. Back then, I think he was probably quieter. Extremely nice, though. Him and Pavel Zacha were really close buddies, and he shared together those three. Salt of the earth guy, hardworking. I think maybe Hynes wasn't his type of coach, maybe. I don't know. But he just seems to roll with everything. He just seems to figure it out. And you look how he's playing now. I think he's got a coach that really suits him.
No, that's awesome. Shout out to Christy Flannery. She does a lot of great Devils stories, and a lot of them are kind of outside of the norm of what other people do. I would call them, I guess, human interest stories or angles on the Devils. Very good writer. I had the chance to meet her and talk to her briefly a few weeks back. So
guess who I'm talking to right after this 2 hours later?
Who?
Christy Flannery.
Nice. She's doing a story on you?
Yes, sir. We're gonna have an awesome story. So it's kind of cool how the Devils stuff's coming around with you and her on the same day.
Really cool. And very coincidental, I would think, as well.
Mm-hmm. She had great things to say about you too.
So when you did did you check out? You did like a little background check? You checked with her?
So I already did a call with her and preeminently before we're going to do this kind of story and stuff, but I just mentioned that I was going on with you today, and she had great things to say, just the way you said about her.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, she's awesome. I look forward to the story she's doing on you whenever that comes out. I'd imagine pretty soon. She's a very diligent, seeing how she prepares and stuff. Like, I'm a little messier. I'm kind of organized chaos with notes in my phone and stuff. And I typically like pen and paper too, but certain things I just rather do digital. She has her notes and she's got all kinds of stuff going on. And watching her prepare, I was like, my God, you're thorough. Highlighters, color coded.
Well, she's got the law background, right? That's why.
I didn't know that. Okay. So it all makes sense. So when you look back at your time with the Devils, what would you say are some of your best memories, or kind of, looking back, what are your best stories? Yeah. Stories, memories, incidents, whatever it is from your time with the Devils, if you had to pick a couple or one.
Yep. As a hockey player, scoring that second goal, going to, where did I go the first? I've never been to that restaurant downtown New York with the boys. What was that place called? What's that Asian place? Oh,
I know. The one with the art mural.
Oh, why? That's going to bother me.
Is it Tao?
Tao. That's it.
Okay,
man. That's always been a great memory. I love going there with the boys. The rookie party we had was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Just getting up in West Orange at the Residence Inn getting to the rink early, bringing the boombox into that shooting room that they have, which I had a key to in the room. Oh my God. And just getting lost in there for 2 hours before practice. How you could go out one door to the practice rink, one door to the game rink, the people. Oh man. I went to like all these different, like I had Italian people from there. One of the guys that worked at the rink, Kooks, he took me to like these crazy Italian places with the La Cucina sauce, I think it was called. It was amazing. Just I had such a time there, man. I had such a time. But as a human being, that was the second crack in my, I guess you want to say, armor, or the fight I had undertaken against life to find what we all look for, which is permanent happiness, which I didn't know at the time I was doing. I was just, hockey made me feel good. So that's what I was doing. But we're all out here looking for that. We're all looking for happiness. That's not just like goes away and here sometimes and gone the next. We want to be happy all the time. And we're, as a human being, that was the second crack of like, something's not right here. I'm not living life properly. So to come in there as a hollow shell from Minnesota and then fight my way out of the minors to think I made it, and then not to get a call in the summer from Ray Shiro or a thank you or nothing, and then a free agent again, that was tough.
Before I get to how it all kind of ended, what did you think about the great food in New Jersey? Was this eye-opening to you? The amount of just amazing cuisines you could get probably from where were you staying, by the way?
I just said West Orange, Residence Inn. So
that's a great area. Within 5-minute drive, you have the best of every kind of cuisine. Was that something kind of new to you? Or am I overranking Jersey food as a biased guy?
That wasn't, brother. Wait till you read my book. I like my food, let me tell you. What was that? What's that diner across the water in Newark?
Top's Diner.
Oh my God. You could have found me there once a week, stuffing my face, or multiple times. The food, the people, like I said, the people introduced me to it. Back then I wasn't vegan. So people took me to a backyard pig roast and homemade Italian from like 70-year-old Italian mamas and grandmas. And oh my God, dude, it was a treat.
That's so funny. When did you become vegan?
I dabbled in it a bit in my Lehigh Valley year, while still playing. And then 2020, 2025, early 2020, no, mid 2023, I started, and I just went from a guy who would go to a Nashville barbecue joint, eat 3 racks of ribs and every freaking animal on the menu, to my partner at the time was vegetarian. So first I went to pescatarian, just fish, then vegetarian, then went to an animal sanctuary and hardcore cut out cheese and dairy that day, became a vegan. Then from an 8-month span, I went from omnivore all the way down to then vegan and raw vegan, and then half raw vegan, and then half just fruit, and then just fruit. And then I did a 33-day no solid food fast of just juice and water. And that changed everything for me, man. And now I'm back to eating pretty much. I have either just juice or fruit. Sometimes I fast 3 days just when I feel like it. And then I'll have a vegan meal with my mom once in a while.
I did the Gary Brecka 72 water fast. I've done a couple of those. Not that easy, not as hard as people would think. And I'm a fat ass. I like my food as well, but I was reading a lot of good things about it. I'm going to give this a go. Okay. So circling back, earlier you said Hynes was your favorite coach. What about Hynes? Did you like, and why was he your favorite coach?
What I said about Scott Stevens and how his aura and how much he cared, and he was a former player, Hall of Famer. John Hynes had that, not as a former good player. He cared about playing, I think, more than 99% of the team. If he could, he'd go out and do it the way he wanted it if he could, and you could feel it. And I'll never forget one day of practice, he stopped practice and he said, "Hockey is a physical game. If you get hurt in practice, I'll find somebody else. Somebody hits somebody. Somebody play like we're supposed to play." And I literally just like losing my mind, drooling, like, oh, say less, buddy. Like, I go through 20 walls for that guy. You feel like the coach cares more than you, and then he would go out and do it the way he says to do it. And then he would hold you accountable and get after you. But as a good dad would, he cared, I can't say enough about that guy. I cannot say enough about John Hynes as a coach. And if you don't like him as a coach, you are just sorry. You're just weak, and you shouldn't go play hockey at the highest level, because it's not going to be hockey that's going to win a Stanley Cup. He coaches Stanley Cup hockey. And people say he's maybe too like defensive, or he's old school, or he's Boston. All the Boston guys like Tortorella and Quinn and him are all buddies, and Sullivan, and they're all about defense and skating. It's like, no. There's the bones of the game, the bones of the structure. The team has to rely on the structure. It's like military. You train harder than you play. And then there's the gray areas within the system to make the skilled plays, to do the things that break games open. So I just think as a hockey player, you're just soft if you don't like John Hynes as a coach.
As a fan, I think a lot of, especially old school fans, like to hear that sort of thing, because I do think the game nowadays versus kind of when I grew up has definitely changed a lot. In a lot of ways. And it is nice to see teams, even if only situationally, embrace that kind of old school warfare hockey. And I definitely think it's a winning style of hockey, as the Florida Panthers have shown everybody for the past 3 years, going to 3 finals and then back-to-back Cup champs. Absolute dogs down in Florida. Bill Zito, what a legendary GM over there. Speaking of GMs, or now a GM, but did you have any dealings with Mike Greer when you were with the Devils?
I did, briefly. Quiet guy. Tell he was very intellectual, very smart. Knowing what type of player he was, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, making it as an African American guy in hockey takes a certain level of resilience. My goodness, yeah, you could just tell. You could just tell he was analyzing everything all the time. That's one thing I took away from him. Kind of Scott Stevens-esque that way, where he just cares so much that he's just like there's not a lot of let's say goofing around. Like there's goofing around when it needs to be, but there's just very focused. And it makes a lot of sense doing what he's doing now and putting that team together the way he is.
Yeah, he's building something special there, I think. And obviously having Celebrini having the year he is. I mean, he's got to be on Team Canada for the Olympics, right? I mean,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, kid's on fire. Wow. Good for Mike Greer and the Sharks. Their fans have suffered for a while. So after that season, nothing from the Devils. Kind of how did that end? How did you find out they weren't going to bring you back? Kind of walk me through that.
Hynes shot me straight in my exit interview. He's like, Gabes, you got to work on getting stronger on your feet. Keep working on your skating. You clearly have enough hands to be here. Just continue to work at the skating and being strong in the corners. I'm like, done. Okay. Didn't give me anything, probably because he knew that they weren't high on me in management. And I didn't hear a single peep. I thought I would at least get a 2-way deal offer. I was hoping for just borderline baseline 1-way, but clearly they didn't believe in me as a player, Shiro and Fitzy and them after that. So tough, man, tough. And I descended into a depression real quick, but then got saved because Chuck Fletcher was hired in Philly and brought me in.
No, that's awesome. Talking favorites. Well, I guess number one, who was your favorite player when you were a kid growing up?
If I was really honest, probably when I was young, Matt Sundin for the Leafs, when he hit that clapper for his like 500th goal on OT against Kiprusoff, that was just like from the blue line. That was just blew my mind. But honestly, Rod the Bod, probably Brindamore. When he lifted that cup for the 06 Hurricanes, the way he lifted it, that whole run, that he's probably my favorite.
Who would your favorite 3 players all time be?
Favorite players, not the best players, my favorite players?
Your favorite 3 all time. Personal favorites.
Brindamore, Luch, and man, there's something special about Darcy Tucker when he was with the Leafs, like just the cult legend that he was.
A trio of badass dudes, and one of them you had to fight. You had to fight one of your favorites. What about 3 current players?
I'll go, because I'm going where I'm going with my content. I'll go Mathieu Olivier for sure, number 1. Tanner Jeannot, number 2. And I'm going to go Scott Sabourin, number 3. Those are my guys right now.
Wow. The gangsters. I like it. If you could have dinner, so this is not just maybe this more goes towards personality or whatever. You're a very inquisitive kind of guy. If you could have dinner with 5 players all time, dead or alive, who would it be?
Probert, Gordy, Wayne, Bobby, Then we need somebody to mix it up in there. Just somebody just to blender it. Sean Avery.
Wow. Talk about a blender. That would be, talk about content. That fictitious dinner table would certainly be Netflix special worthy, in my opinion. And I'm going to ask the same question, but with people. If you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh man, you probably, none of your people will know these people. I'd say Ramana Maharshi, great Indian saint. Nisargadatta Maharaj, great Indian saint. Atmananda Krishna Menon, great Indian saint. Jesus, and Michael A. Singer.
All right, I'm going to have to make you do it again. I like that list. Now do it with a list of people that people. So that's your true list. Give me a list. Give me a list of kind of more known people.
Steve Irwin. Barack Obama. MLK Jr. Maya Angelou. Jane Goodall.
Wow, that's a very interesting list as well. That would also be another award-winning Netflix dinner special. Favorite food?
Higher self, fruit. Lower self. Man, I had a vegan cinnamon roll at this place called Donuts in Barrie, Ontario recently. You would never know the difference, pal. He heated that thing up. Oh, goddamn, was it good.
Favorite movie?
Oh, that is so tough. Okay, I'm one of these people, like, I'm highly sensitive, neurodivergent in my ways, right? I get very into things, very addictive. I felt like growing up, like, people watch movies, but I lived the movie. I was in the movie. Like, it was like a literal simulation I was in. Oh, that's so tough. One movie, though. I think it has to be, if it's one movie, it has to be Forrest Gump. It has to be.
An all-time absolute classic. Can never go wrong. Favorite TV show?
Oh, never really been into those, but yeah, what TV show would I have been into? All I did was watch Animal Planet back in the day. So any kind of African Masai Mara documentary on Animal Kingdom of all the big crazy animals there going off and doing their thing. Lions, leopards, Cape buffalo, elephant, all that. That's what I like, man.
I'm not going to lie. Sometime in my 20s, I got really into, I don't know if it were actually National Geographic, but, you see on Discovery and all these things where they have the cameras and you see all these animals like you've never seen them before. And you see, the pack of lions going after gazelles. Like, I always thought that was super interesting as well, just to kind of really like seeing the food chain up close in the Sahara and all these places. Wild stuff. I certainly enjoyed that as well. Last one, favorite musician or band?
1000% Odessa. Not even a question. They are an indie house electronic band from Seattle, Washington. Saw them in concert. It's speechless. Their music is the music of my dreams. It speaks to me in ways that I can't put into words. They are phenomenal.
I'm gonna definitely have to check them out. Where did you see them in concert?
In Toronto. It was they've changed the game for concerts. They put on shows that are just mesmerizing.
No, that's awesome. Kurtis, thank you so much. This was a thrill. You gave us a ton of great stories and insight into your career, as well as some other guys that I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in hearing about. Let everyone know where they could find you on this World Wide Web.
Absolutely. Let me go on a little riff here. So, as you can see with my office here, I'm doing it big, content creation. I mean, I'm going to launch my public speaking career in the new year. I've got 2 books, a spiritual community that is this collective memorial logo I'm wearing, which means collective remembrance and remembering who we truly are. And that's really what changed for me in my life. All the pain and suffering I went through, all the mental health, all the BS, all the fight against life to find the permanent happiness we're all seeking, which whoever you are out there, that's what you're doing. Regardless if you're hitting a drug, going to your job, whatever, at the end goal of every action, you're trying to just be permanently happy. Well, little did I know that there's actually an actual way to get there, and we're supposed to get there and live that way permanently. We're just not taught that in the West. And it's really sad because it's awesome. So I'm just repackaging the truth that so many great teachers have done and putting it through my own storytelling, through content, through my books, through my speaking, through everything. So if you want to find me, you'll find me. I'm on every platform pretty much. At Kurtis Gabriel _ on Instagram is my main place. But I stream 5 nights a week on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, YouTube, and Kick. 6 platforms, 5 nights a week, 2 hours right now. I'm all over the place here because, my gosh, did I wish I knew the things I knew back then. And for whoever's ready to hear them, whoever's tired of suffering in life, tired of feeling like what's the point, or this world's crazy and you can't handle it, or your parent, like you just can't handle it anymore. I'm offering to point the way, and I'll walk alongside you with it. So come hang out with my socials, come on my streams, read my books. Everybody's welcome.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. Kurtis, great talking to you. Amazing. As expected, all of his links for all of his different platforms and things will be in the description. So definitely check him out, give him a follow, and hope to talk to you again soon, man. Had a lot we didn't get to. I thought I would be, but we were close, but you gave some really good answers, a little more extended than I thought, and missed out on a couple, but hopefully we can do this again. It was awesome. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the time. I can tell how much passion you have for this. I'm sure your listeners absolutely love it. You're diehard. You get into the nitty gritty, the things that are super interesting, all the details of the details. And thank you for giving me the place to kind of air those things out with you and have fun.
No, absolutely, man. Really appreciate the kind words. And it was great, man. I look forward to the people seeing this, and I'll talk to you soon.
Namaste, bro.
Namaste.